get started. Good afternoon. This is Ifan from the Strategic Day Trader, and this is your market wrap for August 26th, 2019. SPY up just shy of 1%, 0.88 there, and Q's up 1.26. Did gap up about 1.1% and then has held those gains so far today. Okay, coming into today, we did have a bearish bias. All right, bearish bias, right? So that means expect rallies to get sold. Now we're waiting to see if that is going to happen tomorrow. If not, then we will have to move to a neutral bias. Okay, we've actually seen something very similar happen already. We had actually a parallel a couple weeks ago. All right, not last week, but I believe the week before here, where we got the sell-off, we got the follow-through, we put in the sell setup, and then the sell setup failed, but it's failed through a gap. Okay, so we're actually in the same situation here. We got the sell-off, with the hourly started the downtrend, and now we put in the sell setup, right? We have a downtrend, we start to put in this lower high, and if this lower high fails, then we're gonna have to wait and see again. So it's been a lot of sloppy back and forth couple weeks here, right? So we were in a very similar situation right in here as we are now. Okay, so that means going into tomorrow, we're gonna be using today's high. If we break out over that, then we'll be neutral. We'll see if we get some kind of setup. We were waiting to see if we should be bullish last time when we were basing up here. Ended up it never broke out and then came in instead. Okay, so we will see going into tomorrow. All right, we are going to be bearish, but if we break out over 184.83 on the Qs, then we will lose the bearish bias. If we break out over 287.91 on the SPY, then we will also lose the bearish bias on the SPY. Okay, so that is going to be the game plan for tomorrow. All right, still bearish. Well, I don't think we're going to take it out in the next few minutes, but we at least now have our new line in the sand. All right, it's possible that we kind of break above and then immediately get rejected, right? If that's the case, then I wouldn't shed the bearish bias too quickly. Okay, so just be on the lookout for that in case it just pokes above and then gets immediately rejected. But going into tomorrow, bearish bias. Okay, still expecting lower prices in the market. Okay, but we'll see if this ends up proving that it's not quite ready yet to come in. Okay. All right, only one call from me today on the ZGNX. I liked this gap down on the ZGNX. Okay, gapping underneath this base and wanted to see lower prices. It worked pretty well at the open, but that's not when I played it. So you can see we got some nice selling, follow through to the gap here right off the open here. And then the call was underneath 43.50 with a stop at 44. So about a 50, yeah, it was a 50-cent stop. Okay, 44, right? You can see the 20 MA on the 5. Caught up here, we have a base, and then we played this breakdown. Okay, it did actually get to target. Target was initially 42.90. You can see it did get to 42.85, but it was pretty spready. I did take some slippage on the way in, which was kind of annoying, about 15 cents on the way in. So even though we were trying to get it as soon as it broke 43.50, came in pretty quick there, even though these bars don't look all that small. Let's go ahead and zoom in here. You can see that when it broke, actually, that was actually a pretty decent sized bar there. So it dropped all the way to 43.34 as soon as it broke 50. So we did get to target 1. I didn't take any. Actually, a couple people in the room were able to manage this a little bit better than I was. So I did kind of wait and look for one more drop, and we didn't get it. So unfortunately, this play did get to target, but still ended up being a loss for me just because of the spread on the way in. It was kind of spready on the way on being where it was when it was making the lows. Okay, But the good thing is that I did just manage it according to the plan, which is when I do get either target one or new lows, then we get to trail it. So it wasn't a full loss, just a partial loss there, as it took out this bar here, right? And you can see it went dollars back up the other way. I got a question on this because if someone was wondering that if they missed the initial entry here, and it comes back to 43.50, should that be played? I think that kind of thought process, I mean, it makes sense, right? If I think it was lower at 43.50 just an hour ago, shouldn't it still be good? And it makes sense that that should be the case, but we have to keep in mind that we have more information now. So when this comes back up here, we now see that it's actually been in a grind. Now, prior to when I called it, I didn't know that 42.85 was going to be necessarily any kind of support. Now, this was, an area that I was looking for because it did offer some profit, right? But when it comes back up, what you want to do is wait for another setup. And in the afternoon, we're focused on the 15. So right here, as it's grinding higher, rather than just jumping back in at 43.50, let it actually give you a setup, because you now have the benefit of more information that I didn't have right when we initially played this breakdown. And if that more information might be that this is too spready or a little bit wild, that's good too, and you decide, well, I'm not going to play it. Okay, but if you actually wait for another entry, you can see that saved you from any kind of loss on the short side, right? Okay, so I just want to mention that as well, because I think, I think the logic is sound. If you're bearish on it at this price, shouldn't you be bearish when it revisits it, right? But it's how it got there. How far did it go before revisiting, right? What does it look like when it is? Okay, so if you miss a play, rather than just kind of find a way to fall in at a similar price, let it give you another setup, right? If it's going to continue to work, it should continue to give us setups, right? Like the LB. Not LB, the LB was kind of the one I was watching this afternoon. Looks like it's not going to trigger underneath that base, but the FL, right? So even though, if say you didn't play this initial entry that we played it, what if you played this breakdown or this breakdown, right? Let it give you another setup. I know you may have to wait and get it at a worse price, right? But just, getting at the same price that it worked from before doesn't guarantee that it's going to work again, right? Okay, so I just wanted to go over that. That's what I was focused on today, was the CG next. That the PDCE did have a very nice setup here at the morning, but a little bit on the spready side as well. Here is the 2-minute 1, 2, 3. The only thing I gave to the room at the open here was the PDCE. So that was nice. Just a little bit on the spready side as well. Not that surprising. As we move out of earnings season, right, the gaps that we're looking at, we will be looking at some thinner and thinner names just as we kind of look for good gaps and good patterns. So just make sure that if you run into these, to size accordingly. Factor the spread into the size of the stop, okay, because you may be taking spread on the way in, you may be taking spread on the way out, right? And this was, I think 20 cents spread is about what I saw here, maybe even a little bit bigger, but it was close to $1 stop. So that's okay if you factor that in. That doesn't change the size of the stop too much, right? And then this ended up going a little over $2 after that. Okay, so there definitely was money to be made on the PDCE. Okay, so that was pretty much all I saw today. There wasn't really not a lot of good gaps, not a lot of earnings. So kind of common for a Monday on the fringe of earnings season. So we'll see what we get tomorrow. I expect the rest of the week to have better opportunities than today. All days aren't going to be created equal. There's always going to be plays that work, but as far as the number of high quality plays, it's going to vary from day to day. I did think, as far as what I'm looking for, I didn't see a lot of it today. So yeah, just one of those Mondays, and we'll see if we get some better opportunities moving forward. Okay, I mean, I remember there were some people in the room I saw. Someone said that today was one of their best days of the year. So it doesn't mean that you can't do well, or that it's just for what I was looking for. I didn't really see a lot of it, so it's just going to be one of those days, all right? And then, manage this appropriately. I did decide not to take it at the target one and see if it would play out some more. Ended up the wrong call, but I don't really have a problem. You make the decision, you make the call, and you live with the consequences. And if I need to make some adjustments about how spready I'm willing to play things, then I can always do that, right? All right. All right, hope you did well today. If not, we'll be back at it tomorrow. All right, and we'll see what the market brings us. Have a good evening.